Today on the Self Smarter podcast.
Our Enneagram wings offer us a kaleidoscope of variations about our personalities, right? I talked about it as spectrum, but I love the kaleidoscope visual. Hi, we're Danelle and Megan, the hosts of this conversation-centric podcast for leaders seeking to be better every day. Whether you choose to be a leader in the workplace, at home, or in your community, we believe the most effective leaders are equipped to not only be self-starters, but self-smarter.
Hello and welcome to Self Smarter. I'm Megan and this is my friend and co-host Danelle.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Welcome back to part 2 of Enneagram, How Your Wings Make You Special.
Sweet.
Very, very special with the wings. First of all, if you have physical wings, we need to talk.
That'd be amazing.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
We always meet angels on airplanes.
We do.
Speaking of wings.
We do.
And you met one this weekend.
I did, flying here.
From Louisiana.
Well, I think there could have, I was supposed to leave New York at 9:24 and get
AM.
And land around noon in Dallas. And I didn't get here until 9 o'clock last night.
12 hour. Oh, no, 14 hours.
Yes. So it was,
Yucko.
It was not good. But I again, when you're in that mood and frustrated and airlines, sometimes you just, I was a bit down for a number of reasons. I was excited to spend my day here in Dallas on Sunday. And then all of a sudden you just find yourself next to someone who lifts your spirits. And she wasn't even trying. She was just
being a good person.
Yeah. She's a grandmother and was there with her daughter and her granddaughter. And it was just a lovely conversation. And I was like, I tried to realize, like, you know what, like, it's okay. Like I was meant to be on, because I switched flights. That's the part I didn't say, is I wasn't supposed to be on the flight that I ended up. I don't even know what time that original flight got in.
God love
because
them.
it had been pushed back to 9 o'clock New York time.
They're like,
and I have some, I have status with American, so they got me on another flight. And that's how I lucked out getting to Dallas at 9. Otherwise, it would have been closer to midnight. Anywho.
Or later.
All that being said, is I wasn't in the seat that I'd purchased, and it was just, I forgot about that part. And then here I was sitting. I wouldn't have got a chance to sit next to sweet Tammy. Tammy was her name. And she had a beautiful story. And I enjoyed it. And it was uplifting for me. And I don't know. That's what we call airplane angels. Yes. Because sometimes you sit next to some characters that don't lift you up.
No, but
I fly enough that I sit next to all kinds of characters. So sometimes in a moment of need, it's nice when you have someone who's just open and delightful. Yes,
shares a story or two, and then you relate.
Curious, yeah. It's just nice. Anyway.
Whenever those things happen too, I always think in all these years that we've been flying and talking to our angels out there, we wonder if they're really like real people or if they're really just angels. But they've enlightened us and brought us into new thoughts and, this is how you have a business. Oh, this is how we run our business. And we learn from that.
Exactly.
I had one person we sat next to, this is the one I remember the most, is she was, she offered a service for people who's trying to find a place for their older parents to live.
Right.
Remember her?
Oh yeah.
She coached us on that. And at first we were kind of like, la, 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 cause like we weren't worried about.
I remember she brought her own lunch on the plane.
She did. And it was gluten-free.
Right. Yes. This was a long time ago too.
She was ahead of the times.
She was ahead of the times. Yes.
On the gluten. Mm-hmm. But anyway, do you have angels in your life?
Yeah.
Angels have wings.
Yes, they do.
Okay, before we jump further into our Enneagram part 2 on Enneagram wings, let's first go to this quick advertisement. Sometimes leaders juggle many roles at once and find it hard to get it all done, much less get it all right. One of the things we have struggled to develop over the years is our ability to recruit, hire, and retain the right people for our organization. We learned a long time ago that we couldn't reach our true potential without a process to guide us on the hiring and onboarding journey without tools. That's why we've created a tool for you available now on beselfsmarter.com. It's called the Recruiting and Onboarding Guide. And for $49, you can be on your way to managing the interview process more effectively, have a more comprehensive approach to identifying the right individuals during the hiring process. We offer recommended interview questions for HR professionals and hiring managers. And we offer pertinent questions to ask that will provide insights into a candidate's qualifications, experience, cultural fit, and work ethic. There's also an onboarding checklist for new hires for you to use in this guide, and also a structured onboarding process recommendation that will support the newly hired employee's acclimation to the work environment to become productive and significantly contribute to the success of your organization. It's available and it's affordable and a click away at beselfsmarter.com. Okay, let's get back into it. This part of the series, this is the part of the series where we talk about your favorite subject, pod listeners. We talk about you. So to kick us off, let's just give a high-level reasoning for this episode. One of the intriguing elements of the Enneagram personality system is the wings. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we talked a lot about the wings. We level set in part 1, which is episode 78. So if you're here and you haven't listened to episode 78, you may want to go back and listen to it once, maybe twice, as we recommended at the end of that episode. You might want to listen to it a couple times because these aren't a hard thing to understand, but when you get into all the nuances of all the different Enneagram types, it can be a lot.
Yeah.
So today we're going to walk through each Enneagram type for you, and we're going to talk about how the wings make you special. Before we dive in, we wanted to make a note about what we're going to put in the show notes. So
yeah, I think it's important. And Megan, I just talked about this because I was going through all the information that we're going to share today, and I'm like, this is a lot. So heads up. Just for today, what I would encourage you to do is listen for your dominant number and then take into account so each number has a wing, 2 wings, one, the number on either side of your dominant number, if you're looking at the Enneagram chart. And we are going to talk about the designations. So the designations all have descriptors, if you will.
Right.
And so each dominant number has 2 of those. So it might be a lot to take in because and we talked about this a lot in the previous episode, is that what makes our wings important is that it helps us expand the nuances of how we're wired, like how we are made, especially as it relates to our emotions and fears and desires and hopes. The wings give us more flexibility in terms of understanding why we might feel a certain way. So they're important, but the reality is the information's a lot.
yeah.
So 9 numbers times 2, you can do the math. That's what we're going to talk through today. My advice is listen for your dominant number, really take in that information, but then go back to the show notes on our website, beselfsmarter.com. And what we'll do is we'll put the 9 types, and then we'll put the 2 different wing designations on there. And then that'll be helpful for you if you're just going through listening today. And then that will also, I think it's important if you re-listen to the episode or share it with someone that in your life that also knows their Enneagram type. That's probably the time when you're going to want to really pay attention to what their wings are. So just keep that in mind. If you have a photographic memory and you can listen and not forget anything, then good for you, because all these tips are for things that I would need.
Exactly.
And how I listen to podcasts.
Right.
I do appreciate a good show note because I usually am walking or writing.
You're like, now what did they say?
Exactly. Yeah. So I often have to go back and reference things. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. So let's start with type 9, our beloved peacemakers. The wings are 1 and 8. And so the 9 wing 1 is called the dreamer, and the 9 wing 8 is called the referee. So even right there, you got a type 9 peacemaker. The 1 is the dreamer, and the 8 wing is referred to as the referee. So I think that's just an interesting dynamic in general. So the type 9s, they seek harmony, and they discover their wings basically based on their responses to things, right? So a 9 wing 1 combines peacemaking with a sense of duty and ethics. So the 9-8 wing infuses the core type's desire for peace with assertiveness and the capacity for standing up for what they believe in. These wings deepen the core's type, so the type 9 their quest for inner and outer tranquility.
Right, because that's
which I think it's
all
interesting.
about. Mm-hmm.
I understand the designation of referee, the 9 with the wing 8.
But the dreamer is a little bit
The
off.
dreamer throws me off. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that I get it
Mm-hmm.
because I think I can be a dreamer, but I don't know that I align that with a one wing.
No.
Right, that's the odd thing. Ones are usually in it for the sure thing, you know, and so
Certainty. So dreamer just doesn't seem to fit.
I know. Maybe it's because the 9 is, out of all the types, would I say that the 9 is the most aggressive? No, I would not.
Right.
So
Outwardly, no.
passively, if I'm not going to execute what a 1 normally would, maybe I'm a dreamer. Maybe I'm less motivated to do, and I'm more prone to dream.
Got it. Oh, okay.
What
that
I
makes
idealize
sense. Yeah.
as the best scenario isn't exactly how I'm going to execute. That's
Okay.
where the sloth comes into motion.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Good insights. Okay.
Okay. So then the next one is the type 1, the reformer, otherwise known as the perfectionist, which people don't like to say that, but I'm going to say it because it helps with context, I think. And the 2 wing styles for the reformer are the 1 wing 9, which is the idealist. So here's the reverse of what we just said,
Right.
the 9 wing 1. The idealist is 1 wing 9, and the advocate is 1 wing 2. So for type 1s, the wings lend distinct flavors. I like that. A 1 wing 9 leans towards a calm and introverted demeanor, embodying more of the peacemaking traits from type 9. I think Marcy thinks she's a 1 wing 9.
Yeah. That's what she's determined.
I don't see that so much, but okay.
Again, caution before you dive in too deeper is
Yes.
that we have both of the wings.
Yes.
But I think what's happened over time is that
Yes.
you get to pick one. Are you more likely to stay with 1 wing more than not? The answer is yes.
Right.
But again, remember that we
That's
have
good.
both of our wings at a disposal, because if not, you're just going to be flapping around and going in a circle.
Yes. Half
With
the
1
battle
wing.
is being aware of them and how to utilize them when you need them, which
That's
we
right.
talked about in episode.
And we tend to pick the numbers that we like on either side, either one of the wings that looks
Oh,
better.
that one looks fun.
Yeah, that one's
I
way
wanna be
better
that
than that
one.
one. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Okay, keep
Okay,
going.
so on type 1, conversely, a 1 wing 2 channels empathy and warmth, blending the type 2's helping tendencies. These wings soften the perfectionist's core, allowing ones to express their desire for improvement in nuanced ways. So maybe I am going to put myself out there in order to be liked, but that's what the 2 does, but I'm doing it because I think it's the right thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big difference. So I think that's really interesting about the 1s.
Yeah, the ones are grounded in justice and
Yes.
doing what's right.
That's
so
right.
they're allowing themselves to feel more with both of their wings.
That's right.
Yeah. So, okay, moving on to type 2, the helper. So the 2 wing 1 is referred to as the host, and the 2 wing 3 is referred to as the companion. So type 2s, driven by their desire to assist, are influenced by their wings in distinct ways, as all of them are. But the 2 wing 1 combines nurturing qualities with a sense of duty, while a 2 wing 3 infuses ambition and charisma into their helping nature. These wings amplify the core's type's warmth. So type 2s have a warm, creating a dynamic personality with a capacity to inspire and care.
That's so interesting.
So it's
So if I'm a 2, I'm going to help, kind of like the 1 wing 2. I'm going to help because it's my duty versus
right.
what I want to do.
At times. Yeah, depends.
Because it's the right thing to
do, yes.
Versus a 2 wing 3's motivations are because I'm infusing ambition and charisma. It's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. I can see it that way for sure.
Okay. Type 3 are achievers. The wings are very, I think, perfectly named here. The first is 3 wing 2. They're called the professional. And then 3 wing 4 is known as the expert. Type 3s, who are motivated by success, gain additional dimensions through their wings. A 3 wing 2 combines achievement and with interpersonal skills, becoming a charming go-getter. On the other hand, a 3 wing 4 fuses creativity and authenticity, channeling their ambition into more unique expressions. So fuses creativity and authenticity is the difference.
Yes.
These wings enhance the core's type's Core types strive for excellence.
Yep.
And I don't hate that. These are great descriptors for a 3, because 3s have, when you go and look at where they go in stress, it's not fun for 3s. It's not fun for anybody.
I was going to say, right.
But this brings their expert need, or their need to be professional and excellent to a healthy light, I think.
That's right. Yeah. Our wings, if you really think about it, they're what give us flight.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times when we're in a wing, it's a good place to be.
Totally.
And that's why you have the opposite numbers where you go in growth is like really when you're expanding yourself, and where you go in stress is obviously what's holding you back from growth. But the wings are these constant relationships in our we have a continuous relationship with our wings. And so I see it as most of the time when we're utilizing our wings to be it's in a very positive way.
Okay. So what I want to encourage listeners, because we've already been through my main type, my wings, and now we're going through where I go in growth. And all of this is really clicking.
Yeah.
So what I hope you'll do as you listen to us talk about your types is think about that. Where do you go in growth? Listen to that. Listen to where you go in stress, and listen to both of their wing styles.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it in the last episode, that the balancing act is recognizing the nuances of the other wings where you go.
Yeah, the other numbers. In fact, realizing the nuances of all the other numbers, because eventually you have a relationship with all 9 numbers.
Right.
You have your dominant, where you go in growth, where you go in stress, your wings, and then there are endless combination of subtypes, which we haven't even gotten into on these episodes yet. Like that's literally, our senior year. But that, when you start to study those elements of the Enneagram, you realize, wait a minute, I have a relationship with all 9 numbers. Right. But right now, we're focused on the numbers on either side of your dominant.
That's right.
So,
but as a peacemaker,
when
I'm doing my very best, which is where I go in growth is 3. I'm a 3 wing 2, combines achievement with interpersonal skills, becoming a charming go-getter.
Yeah.
That's not who I am all the time.
Right.
But when I'm in growth, you bet.
Yeah, you can see that. Sure. I think that's a good point. All right, moving on. The type 4 is the individualist. So the 4 wing 3 is the aristocrat, and the 4 wing 5 is the bohemian, which I think is interesting. And I can totally see that in a number of 4s I know. So for type 4s, the wings enhance their emotional depth. The 4 wing 3 blends creativity with ambition, emphasizing the desire for recognition.
Interesting.
I know, if you think about some of the 4s we know. Yes. The 4 wing 5 combines introspection with the quest for knowledge, and resulting in a more reserved and intellectual approach. These wing add layers to the course type for longing for individuality and authenticity. So they long to possess both of these things. They want to be an individual who has, their own space for emotion and for like feeling things. And they also deeply want to be authentic. They want to be able to be themselves, and they find that to be a struggle at times. So that's our type 4s.
Okay. Type 5s, the investigator. So their wings are first 5 wing 4. They're called the thinker. That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And then the 5 wing 6 is called the observer. So type 5s, driven by a thirst for knowledge, manifest their wings uniquely. A 5 wing 4 combines intellectual pursuits with emotional sensitivity, resulting in a more artistic and introspective demeanor. A 5 wing 6 blends analytical thinking with loyalty and caution, creating a more grounded expression. These wings deepen the core type's quest for understanding.
Okay. So 5 seek to understand. They're motivated by what they know.
That's right.
And so the wings, again, balance them out somewhat.
So beautiful. So here it's art versus analytical.
Yeah, that's what it is. When you're in the 4, you're more in this artistic,
creative zone.
6.
Data.
Right. Okay. Type 6, the loyalist. So the wings are the 6 wing 5 is the defender, And the 6 wing 7 is the buddy.
Isn't that perfect?
Which I just think of Will Ferrell, and I think of he's probably a 7 because I'm a 7, and it's like, okay,
Marcy's
the buddy.
husband.
Yes.
His name is Randy. He is a classic 6 wing 7. We talk about it all the time here internally, and he is for sure the buddy.
Yes, he is. So that's amazing. Okay, so for type 6, the wings shape their response to anxiety and uncertainty. So again, our wings help us deal with just our innate tendencies, right? So 6 wing 5 combines loyalty with a thirst for knowledge, often leaning into analytical thinking. And a 6 wing 7 infuses loyalty, which is innate to 6s, with a more adventurous spirit, embracing new experiences as a way to alleviate doubt. These wings add layers to the course type need for security.
Right. So I'll give a good example of the difference here. The defender is my husband, Aaron.
Yes.
6 wing 5. Mm-hmm. The buddy is Marcy's husband, 6 wing 7. Before we got into wing study,
yes,
Marcy and I were having this big talk about the 6s and what it's like to live with them. And she said, oh, it's wild and crazy. Like, Randy wants to go jump out of an airplane and do parachuting. And I was like, Aaron Zweig would never, ever do something like that, because he knows he's going to for sure go through the motions of the parachute is not going to open and then he's going to crash this horrible death. No, Randy's the complete opposite, yet they're the same in terms of so that's how really distinctly different any type based on their wings can be. Now they can both lean into both, to your point earlier, but there are just these innate tendencies that your wings draw you to. And they, I would say, are both examples of extreme of the defender and the buddy.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with realizing, I don't know that all of us are just naturally balanced.
No. Yeah.
I wasn't, but I learned how to do it based on my role. And I talk about that in the previous episode. So go ahead and go through the 7s and then I'll revisit that for our listeners.
Okay, perfect. So the type 7, which is what Danella is, the enthusiast. So the wings there are 7 wing 6, the realist. Mm-hmm. And the second is 7 wing 8, the visionary. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting because those two names alone are completely opposites, but I see you do both. Mm-hmm. The realist isn't always a visionary.
No.
And the visionary is not always a realist.
Correct.
So type 7s, fueled by a quest for excitement, find their wings influencing their outlook. Mm-hmm. As a 7 wing 6 combines enthusiasm with caution, blending excitement with practicality. A 7 wing 8 infuses the core type's enthusiasm with assertiveness and a desire for control. If y'all could see me pointing at Danelle right now. Boop, boop, boop. These wings enhance the core type's pursuit of joy and adventure.
Yeah, and it's real. And again, what I talk about previously, and I've mentioned this a number of times, is that I was struggling with my dual role as owner of this business and then eventually president and CEO. And I was struggling with my emotions around certain things that would happen within our organization. Right. And I couldn't decipher why that was. And so how could I therefore manage it? Right? I didn't understand it. I just thought something like I would be so frustrated with myself. And what I ended up realizing, and I remember the day that I literally called you and told you, like, I've really been thinking, I've giving myself permission now. So as the owner of this company, I am a 7 wing 6, the realist, right? Like, combines enthusiasm. I had to stay enthusiastic about this business, but I also could use the practicality of caution to, okay, as the owner, decisions directly affect me financially. not to mention emotionally, but financially. So sometimes I would, in a positive way, utilize that, and sometimes it would cripple me somewhat. The caution would become like I couldn't move. I can't move. And so then with my 8, it's like my 8 wing, so 7, 8 wing, the visionary. Well, that makes total sense because that was my role as a CEO, to see us progressing, to see us moving forward. In some ways, to see us not, like, see myself as not being the best leader I could be. right? I can see the vision. So the goodness of that is that things happen. I used confidence to move through these chapters. I also had to learn the other side of that wing is control. And so I had to learn over time to understand the healthy version of control with the unhealthy and know where that boundary was. And so again, and you know, with the sevens, they tend to talk a lot about joy and adventure. And I think for me, relative to the workplace as a leader inside the, you know, in the work setting, I did want it to be a great place. Like it was always my desire for this to be a place people wanted to come to work.
Sure.
I was always interested in the adventure part of it, going after the client that we weren't quite ready for. We would launch products and services that we hadn't fully, you know, not vetted, but I mean, before it was ready. Like we're a marketing company, so sometimes you try things that I know this is the right thing to do, and no, we don't have a lot of practice with it. We want you to be first. Do you know how many people we have brought into we want to try this because we think this is the next phase of digital marketing or social marketing? Do you want to be the first, the guinea pig with us?
And do you know why they said yes? Because you were the visionary. That's why. You need somebody like that. It's almost like a galvanizer, influencer. That's what makes you so great. One of the things that makes you so great is that 7-wing 6 lady is scary. She's scared.
She's scared. She's cautious, and then there's an extent to where she becomes unnecessarily cautious.
Correct.
And she starts to not think about things in a rational way. Yeah.
Whereas the 7-wing 8, she's glorious. She's super fun. Everyone wants to hear what she has to say because it's new, it's different. It's, you know, relative to control. I guess I see that in different areas, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like I understand it. I think those are really good descriptors for the 7s.
Okay, let's move on to another one of our favorite. Enough about me. Let's move. Okay, type 8, the challenger. So the 8-wing 7 is the maverick, which is interesting, and the 8-wing 9 is the leader. So for type 8s, the wings amplified their assertive nature. So the wings are really, 8s are assertive alone, but their wings take them in an expanded direction, I would say. So 8-wing 7 blends the course type dominance with an adventurous spirit and a desire for experiences. And 8-wing 9 combines strength with a more calm and diplomatic approach, often becoming a stabilizing force. So these wings enrich the core type's drive for control and authority. So
I love it.
Yeah, I can see the maverick. I think that designation, I can't clearly see, but certainly the leader and the 8-wing 9. But I understand what we're being taught here about the 8-wing 7.
What's so cool is when you get into this, listeners, really deep, and you start to think about how these wings and these types apply to your team. You know, I can't help but listen to what we talked about with 9 and 7 and 8, because I'm a 9, you're a 7, and Mackenzie, who is a growing leader, a leader at DMA. I mean, she's been here for 11 years. She's certainly a leader. I see her in both of these.
Yes, I do too. Because Mackenzie's working on leaning into both of them to accelerate herself as a leader. I would say that for any number of the people at this company. Yes. I really do. And I think some of us have just been at it for longer. Yes. I mean, you know, Marcy's had to learn how to work through, and I think she would, if she were sitting here, she'd be like me. We still got ways to go.
Yes.
I certainly do. But I think she's conscious of that 9-wing and that 2-wing and to see, especially with Marcy going through, you know, again, I refer back, it's like, how to do it in the workplace as a, you know, you've decided you're a leader, but then also in your personal life. That's really when some of this comes into play, is when chapters and seasons of our life bring us change.
And I'll end on this for the 8s. What I think is so interesting about the Maverick, you said earlier that you were like, I don't know that fits. Like that's, okay, now let me back up for a minute. Okay. Let's back this up. Do you remember the night we were in Boston? This is a long time ago. And we started downstairs and we were doing like Sweet Caroline. Mackenzie was there.
Oh, we were singing.
La la la. Then we go upstairs to the club, like with the disco.
Dance, yeah.
Do you remember what Mackenzie did?
I did, but I don't know if she wants to
That's the
share.
Maverick.
Yeah, okay. She made
don't mind.
I'm just gonna say she made a very bold move on the dance floor. Let's just preserve.
But it wasn't filthy or anything.
No, gosh, I said a bold move. Physically, I could never dream that I could even have the strength in all of my body to do it, much less just my 2 arms. What she did on the dance floor.
She did push-ups.
Yes.
Like a lot of them. She balanced a beer bottle or something?
There was other.
There was athleticism involved.
Extreme athleticism.
Extreme athleticism. But that's the kind of stuff she does.
Okay, so that was her. Yeah, that's definitely her 7 wing. Okay,
yes.
Fair. Okay.
Or you'll turn around. I mean, this person is so straight faced most of the time. Doesn't bring a lot of emotion into conversation, which isn't a good thing or a bad thing. It just is what it is.
Right.
She's very practical.
Very.
She's an 8 wing 9. Practical is her middle name. Sometimes this other person comes out and it's that Maverick.
Yeah.
She'll be bouncing around the room. I always say, like, give Mac a cocktail and she turns into a bunny rabbit. Like, she's like, boop, boop, boop.
She'd be, I can see definitely in those environments, but I also see it around here. If she's convicted about a project or a direction we're going, I see, and I think I'm glad you brought that up because I do see that Maverick come out. And so you're right. I think that's
Or she'll say, yes, we can do that. I'll say, well, I don't know that we can do that. And she'll go, yes, we can do. Why can't we do that?
Yeah.
She's like you.
Right.
You know, I always tell you both, y'all remind me so much of one another. It's because you have that 7 thing in common.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Good stuff.
Yeah. What do you know for sure about Enneagram wings, Sanel?
I mean, when you think about it, and again, what we've discussed in 2 episodes now, our Enneagram wings offer us a kaleidoscope of variations about our personalities, right? I talked about it as spectrum, but I love the kaleidoscope visual because what it does is it gives us layers to our dominant types or core types. They're called both core and dominant, but it gives us layers, which makes us more interesting as people.
Yeah.
And it gives us a lot more room for grace and empathy and, in many cases, forgiveness of oneself and potentially of others. And so that is why this work is, to me, so meaningful. And so, understanding our wings can help us illuminate intricacies of our behaviors, motivations, and really where we go in growth and stress. It brightens up things we may be feeling or dealing with. So, and I think too, it's important for us to remember exactly what the Enneagram is for. It really is a catalyst for self-knowledge and self-awareness. And what it should do is guide you toward a more balanced and authentic expression of yourself. So when you embrace your wings, you're letting them help you really ultimately soar to the best possible version of yourself.
Totally.
And that doesn't mean knowing how to only identify and manage the things that you might struggle with. It also helps you understand how to just own that and how to be able to share with others in your life where you may be at any given time. I mean, again, the way you opened up the previous episode was just beautiful. I know that was difficult for you, but it really was an expression of how far you've grown, and from the aspect of you knew where you were struggling and you just flat out owned it. And then you gave yourself permission to navigate it with multiple options relative to what you know about yourself. And then when the time came for you to deliver the eulogy, you'd done the hard work.
Yeah.
And then you could just celebrate your dad.
Yes.
And then give everyone else around you, including yourself, a gift.
That's right.
So otherwise, when we don't know those things, we can find ourselves really missing out on opportunities to really live in a moment.
Totally.
And I know that's what you expressed to me when I checked on you. Is like, I was in that moment. I spent the day aware and present. And for someone who struggles greatly with those things, because denial is the 7's middle name, is, you're teaching me by what you did and, learning from you. And that's what this work does for us.
Yes.
And so sometimes we can see it easier for ourselves. It depends on really where we are.
Yep.
Sometimes we can be in a hubris situation where somebody needs to jerk us down just a minute to say, Danelle, we know that that's the best idea that you've had in a long time, but we also need to talk about the practicality of doing that right now at this moment.
That's right.
It's probably not the best time.
Right.
But let's talk about it. I need people like that in my life. I also need people in my life to pick me up when all I can see is negative. And say, okay, let's balance this 6-wing of yours out.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm, again, there's plenty of positives from my 6-wing, but that tends to be where it is in moments of when I'm in stress. And I also need someone to be able to understand me well enough, which means I have to communicate.
Yeah.
And they say, let's take a look at this 6 months down the road. Is this, when we use this terminology or not, is this pain you're feeling right now or this struggle you're having? It doesn't have to be pain. It can just be struggle. Is it for now or is it forever? And so these are all things that we've coined that you hear us talk about on this podcast that help us navigate those moments. And without the wing study, I think we'd be pretty rigid to, I only behave like a 7. That's not true. No. And that doesn't make us interesting as people, just to be a one thing.
One type.
So I want to celebrate the Enneagram journey that we're all on I've been nervous. I'll tell you that right now, listeners. I've been a bit nervous as how deep we wanted to go with Enneagram knowledge. But it'll be interesting to see what you think as we start to present more of this. It's not the easiest stuff to present on a podcast. So if you're still with us, thank you. Goodness gracious. But at the same time, we think it's important. And maybe these are the type of episodes that you don't take in while you're walking. Maybe it's with a notepad or utilizing the notes a little bit more instead of just listening. Right. But hey, if you're listening, then go back and listen again. But that's the point I'm trying to make. So I just took the longest time trying to answer a simple question of what I know for sure. And what I know for sure is this just makes us better. Yes. And I know that's a commitment of mine. I know it's a commitment of yours.
Yes, it is.
So
thank you. I appreciate all that you said. And I, learning from you too. And we can't give enough credit to just being prepared for things. Mm-hmm. Part of the preparation work is doing due diligence relative to yourself.
That's right.
So that's really all we're asking anybody to do on any given day is to just show up more prepared, maybe with the presentation you have to give, but moreover, how are you feeling? How are you going to navigate this? What are the derailers? What do you need to navigate?
Right.
Yeah. You got to know yourself in order to do that effectively.
Correct.
Okay. Wonderful. Let's transition over to music moment. And I thought this would be just kind of fun and light, but the craziest concert moment ever. Last episode, we talked about Nick Jonas falling through a hole on the stage, which I said that would happen to me.
Right. I think that was 2 episodes ago, but yes.
Okay. Yeah. What, have you seen anything weird at a concert? Okay.
But have you? Because you need to probably go first because there's not going to be much recovery after mine.
Oh, okay. No. I mean, I've seen a lot of cool people.
Yeah.
Olivia Newton-John. Yeah. I've seen Madonna. I've seen Michael Jackson. I've never.
But you haven't seen Strange Acts.
I have seen the weirdest thing.
Okay.
The weirdest thing I've ever seen. It was a Smashing Pumpkins concert in 1993. I was there with one of my dear friends and my boyfriend at the time. And my girlfriend, like our friend, she went down to the mosh pit. Okay. And I know mosh pits are kind of back.
Are they?
Like it's happening again, which I don't know that I approve of that, but okay. Neither. Yeah. Well, she was in it and she's this big. It was Christine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, anyway, Christine didn't throw a bottle at the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, but someone in the audience did. Well, he got mad and he started cursing at this person and they ended up leaving. The Smashing Pumpkins left.
Oh.
Not even halfway through the concert.
Wow.
They would not tolerate it. It was like boundary setting, like right there. Like, you guys threw a bottle at us. We don't appreciate that. We're leaving.
And so that one person ruined it for everyone else.
All of us. We were so mad.
Oh, man.
The mosh pit was like, well, I guess we have to like comb our hair back and like walk to the parking lot and leave.
Oh, boo.
I know. It was a bummer. Yeah. But anyway.
All right.
That was the craziest thing that's ever happened to me.
Okay, well, mine's very, very different.
Okay.
So I was in Dallas.
I need to buckle up for this.
Yes, you do, because I don't know that I've ever told you this story.
Okay, yay.
I was seeing Cher. It was Cher when she came out on the Believe tour. I think that was late 90s. So think about that. It was at one of our open, it's been called a million different names.
Smirnoff.
But
is what I used
anyway,
to know it
it's
as.
an
I saw Pearl
amphitheater.
Jam there.
Yeah, it's an amphitheater.
Yes.
So it has some coverage, but most of it is
Where we saw
outdoors.
Brandy.
Yes. It has a big lawn on the back, whatever. Well, I had really good seats. Like I'm talking, my friend had gotten us like, I don't know. Let's just call it fifth row center stage.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, my friend wasn't getting there for the opening act, so I was by myself. And the opening act was Cyndi Lauper. Yes.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
I know, and I was so excited. I'm a kid of the 80s, and so I am so excited to see her, but I'm by myself, and people weren't as excited to see her, so there were a lot of empty seats, and it's still daylight. So remember, it's daylight. Cher wasn't going to come on till about 9. So imagine this being about 7:45, 30 maybe. Summer, hot as hell. Oh. Hot as hell.
Oh God.
So Cyndi comes out and she's singing her songs, but she's an interesting character, and I think she's gone through some evolution, being one of the biggest names of the 80s, these huge hits, and then trying to find her way back, opening up for another act. And she had taken, I hadn't heard from Cyndi in a while in terms of music. I don't even know if she had a new album out or anything. Well, she is singing at the top of her lungs, and I'm so close to the stage that all of a sudden I start to notice, and it's hot, and so I'm sweating. I'm thinking, Cyndi's sweating. And I realize that there's no way that Cyndi could be sweating that much in her pants. Like, it was, I've never wanted so bad to.
Are we going to be forced to take this down?
I mean, I saw what I saw. Cyndi literally, and she didn't realize it because she's singing, and I'm sure she could just feel like she couldn't release. I don't know. She's singing to hit the note. So I'm not sure if she knew, or maybe she was a bit numb. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe she was numb. I don't know.
You gotta go.
But when she realized it, it was exit stage right. And unfortunately, you could see it in the front and the back. So it scarred me. I'm not laughing because I'm laughing at your face. So listeners, I'm not laughing. Like I wanted to cuddle her, and now that I see her coming back, and she came back with the Broadway show, she did the music for Kinky Boots.
Yes.
So she's made a complete recovery since that downward day in Dallas, Texas, where something got the best of her.
You know what I think it was? She was probably trying to hydrate because it's 150 degrees outside.
I'm sure, and she overdid it and didn't realize that, and at a certain age, y'all, it kicks in.
Yes.
Sometimes you just can't control it. Anyway, I don't want to go into too graphic, but I'm telling you, when I saw, all Megan wrote, listeners, was craziest concert moment ever. And so I'm sitting there going through my Rolodex of interesting things I saw, and then I was triggered remembering that, because that's
pretty bad.
That's but I'm just so happy that she wasn't the headliner. Yeah. So it was just me and maybe only 100 other people at that massive place, but not a lot of people showed up to see her. Maybe that's...
She's probably hoping all these years later that somebody forgot about that, and here we are, this little podcast out of Dallas, Texas, coming out with the TT story.
Well, anyway, you asked the question.
I did.
Anyway, I still love me some Cyndi Lauper, and it's so funny when I hear her music, I will not turn it, because I just feel like
yes,
I'm here for you, girl.
You've never told me that story.
I know.
And we've karaoke'd Cyndi Lauper a lot.
Yeah. No, but that was my story.
Okay.
God love it. Oh, and to her credit, she did change clothes and come back out and finish her set.
Hell yeah, she did.
And that was cool too. I forgot that self-smarter moment.
Of course she did. Like, we're going to keep this going.
Yeah. Versus,
don't give up now.
Exactly. All right.
Okay. That was pretty crazy. Thank you for sharing. Have you had a crazy moment, listeners?
Please let us know. Oh my gosh, please let us know.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And we can share it. Do you have pictures from said concert?
I mean, they would be from a camera. It was back then.
Well, that would
when
be
we
cool.
didn't have a digital camera.
Right?
Yeah.
Like printed pictures.
Yeah, that's what it would be.
That's coming back.
I know.
The kids all want the printed pictures now.
Yeah. Okay.
Too bad there's nowhere to develop them, but they want them. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to bring today's episode to a wrap. So remember, we're going to put So all the things that we talked about today, including all the descriptions for each Enneagram type and the wings, into the show notes so that you have it to refer back to. Remember to tell a friend who's on a leadership journey themselves to please come and listen to our podcast. We'd love to help them. And for you, if you're interested in tools and coaching resources, please go to beselfsmarter.com and poke around a little bit. See if anything suits you.
Absolutely.
And until next week, we send you into the week with grateful hearts.
Goodbye, everyone.
As always, you can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Self Smarter Podcasts. You can also leave a rating or review if you enjoyed what you heard today. Not only does this mean so much to us, but it also helps other leaders and future leaders find our community. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us in becoming Self Smarter. This podcast is produced by Snacks Media, and music is from a free platform. Well, that is until Brandy Carlisle reaches out to us to write the original score for our podcast. Friends, have a great rest of your day.